Pascal not making the All-NBA team means that the most the Raptors could offer him is a 4-year extension instead of a 5-year supermax. The difference there with the extra year obviously is huge, right? Essentially, we're talking about $50 million just on the extra year alone, and also you're able to offer like higher percentage raises. I don't know. Blake's not here to explain this, but 4 years is 192. The 5-year supermax would have been 290. Grange, did you get a sense that the Raptors would have offered the full supermax at 5 years if he had made it in the first place? Because that I didn't really think so, even though it does put the Raptors in an unnecessarily awkward bargaining position.
I had wrote this, I think, in something that just went up this morning. No, I don't think the only way Pascal would have been offered the supermax would if he was, the top player, 5 player in the NBA, right? If he was on, if the Raptors made it to a conference final and he was, somewhere finished, on the MVP ballot, was first team All NBA, then at that point, then I think it would have been a very different conversation. But, and I think that probably was made clear even when there was preliminary talks about an extension last summer. So being third team or second team All NBA on a team that, didn't win a playoff round, like you weren't going to get supermax for that. And, I don't think that was all pretty known up front. So, I don't really see this as Pascal missing out on, the supermax. I mean, I just don't think he was going to get it, barring, as I said, him becoming the next, bumping Giannis Antetokounmpo out of a forward spot.
Right. Yeah. No, that's fair. Well, in terms of the 4-year, I mean, to be honest, like I think it's pretty clear he is worth that amount of money. You can look about the stats that he's putting up. You can look across the league in terms of just how many players you could say definitively are better than him. I would struggle to see most people getting to 15, even 20. And when we're talking about that amount of money, to me, it makes sense. I think also from the Raptors' perspective, I think the Raptors need to be able to sign players to longer-term deals, and then if you were then willing to pivot into a rebuild, which could be a conversation this summer, although they could have been in the conversation at the deadline as well. Clearly, they sort of kicked that can down the road. But to me, that seems like the better play in terms of getting more value on your players. Not only are you retaining talent, but you have more talent to trade. Grange, do you sort of see that as the possibility here in Toronto where Pascal can be extended this summer and would be extended this summer?
Yeah, I think it probably makes sense. I mean, I think you're going to make one of those two decisions. I think you're either going to decide that, trading the player with a year left on his deal and, a fairly reasonable extension option is one way to advance your team. And, and I think the other would be extending him. And then, as you point out, he remains somebody that it screws up your timing if you were going to do a trade. Like, you wouldn't be able to trade him, I guess, till January, whatever that threshold is, depending on when you sign him. But yeah, what you want to remove, you absolutely have to remove, is the possibility of him going into a contract year and you losing certain. He's just not as valuable a person to trade if he's only got X number of months on his deal, and so I think we'll either see one of those two things. I think we'll see an extension, or we'll see a trade, and that'll be keep you guys in podcast material for a while.